This disclaimer was copied without permission.
Cheers, quaffers, guzzlers, swiggers, sippers, and all other good people out there. Hopswatch here, and it's time for another round of... This time about this guy. His name is Torben Søndergaard. Call him Torben Søndergaard if you like. I don't care. He's a Danish preacher, and he is running an international church called the Last Reformation, that until lately had its headquarters in the former Untitled Chapter, that's the Untitled School of Athletics, not many kilometers from where I now live. I stumbled upon him back in 2011, I guess it was, and I even made a couple of videos on two channels I had under the name Party Pagan back then, one in English and one in Danish. I did it because he turned out to be one of the very few Christians in Denmark who openly denied evolution, Big Bang cosmology, and some other stuff, and I didn't want to let him get away with it. He was back then and is still to this day very active on YouTube. I went through a number of his videos on his YouTube channel, and they turned out to be rerunning the same old strawmen, acts of ridicule, and misrepresentations of evolution that we have heard so many times. Evolution claims that people ultimately came from rocks, that macroevolution doesn't happen, that the world shows signs of being created and life designed, that evolution is a lie and has been repeated so many times that people have started believing it. You know, and all that Darren Hayes. Yeah, I happen to like jazz music, so when referring to creationist idiocy, it's going to be over my dead body to call that all that jazz. Torben Søndergaard is obviously very inspired by the American tradition of creationism. His videos sound like reruns of points made by people such as Ken Ham, Ted Haggard, Ray Comfort, who actually gave a shout out to Torben's group back in the day. Back then he was associated with the group Experience Jesus, that is Oplevjesus in Danish. However, the group seems to have split since then. Their website still exists, but only as a link hub to 6 other Christian groups, with one still leading to Torben Søndergaard's material, that is mission.dk. Christians tend to have these splits every now and then. That's how we've got 30-odd thousand versions of Christianity today. He also authored a couple of books, and I took the trouble to read one of them. I'm a slow reader, and there's a limit to how much crap I want to waste my time with, so one it was. It's called Christian Disciple or Slave. It's translated into English if you'd be interested, and it's regarding how a true Christian should be absolutely submitted to God as if being his slave. I actually thought that submission was more of a feature of a competing religion, but I digress. Overall, along with being a creationist, his theology calls for complete submissiveness to God in order to facilitate the Last Reformation, which is to function as the ultimate preparation for Christ's return and Armageddon. Along with theological material, his channel would feature testimonies of conversion from members of the Experience Jesus group, and finally, videos where he allegedly goes to demonstrate his power to heal by exorcism of demons through his faith in Jesus and the Lord. He also featured in local news where he once actually removed a cask around a leg after purportedly healing it for a fracture, thus potentially worsening a condition that hadn't yet healed properly. The channel, a local affiliate of the national TV2 channel, didn't utter a single word of criticism on the matter, thus in reality peddling a notion that faith healing is somehow acceptable behavior and an alternative to proper orthopedic treatment. Also, he appears to have had regular trips to the local Nibe festival, where you would see him heal attendants for anything, pain, hearing deficiencies, whatever you could imagine, but of course never providing any tangible documentation of actual results. Like showing a medical report that had been written before the purported healing and a new one after the fact, concluding recovery or at least improvement. There was never anything like that. I wonder why. Most of these videos have been taken down, it seems. However, his faith healing continues on his new channel, simply called The Last Reformation, still with no actual evidence of recovery or improvement. Fast forwarding to today, or rather half a year ago, he suddenly becomes, really famous. He stars in a 3-part documentary on the Danish nationwide broadcasting channel TV2, running in January this year. It is called Guds bedste børn, which translates to God's best children. But this time, contrary to his appearance on what was local affiliates of the same channel years ago, this time the criticism is rather harsh and, in my humble opinion, completely justified. I will only be showing screen caps from the program, as I don't want a copyright hit. Also, in order to watch the program, you actually need to subscribe to TV2's streaming service, which isn't free. So I will be taking my precautions. In the documentary, we learn that he has persuaded people from all over Europe to give up their jobs and to sell their homes in order to work for Torben Søndergaard's church. We see that in episode 1 at 70 minutes. You hear Torben Søndergaard say, "We want people who don't have any plan B." After which a German family and a Swedish family step up to tell that they have quit their jobs, sold their homes and left their country to live in Torben's cult compound. What seems to have been especially persuasive for people when asked why they joined the church were his faith-healing videos on YouTube. Also, we learned that he lets children watch extremely traumatizing and sometimes even violent exorcism. And sometimes even performing exorcisms on children. The latter he denies he's ever done, which turns out to be a lie. That's apparent from the very first minutes of episode 2. He also lies about not encouraging faith-healed people to skip their meds. He indeed encourages them to do so on secret recordings, while claiming to the journalists making the program that he doesn't. In episode 3, 39 minutes in, he encourages a person who is, for all that he knows, mentally ill to stop taking her meds. What he doesn't know is that she's actually a mole placed by the documentarists. But as far as one can hear, she's not leading him onto it. It pretty much comes spontaneously. People were rightfully pissed at Torben after the documentary. And the landlord, Peter Rasmussen, from whom Torben had rented his cult compound, kicked him off his property. He himself claiming to be deeply Christian, and by the way, a former football star. Remember, Americans, that's the sport that you call soccer, spelled S-U-C-K-E-R. This is when Torben took the rather drastic decision to go somewhere where he didn't need to relate to the many questions people were directing to him. He fled to the United States of America. Now let's fast forward to today. Or rather to the 24th of July, where the news broke that Torben Søndergaard would be seeking asylum in the United States. Yes, you heard that right, seeking asylum in the United States. For that reason, he posted a rather lengthy video on YouTube. The Danish tabloid paper BT even mirrored it in their news article about him. I of course encourage everyone to watch the video. I posted a link to both the article and the video on Torben's channel on YouTube. In the video, he gives his version of the story. Let me just give you the gist of it with a few commented clips. Just want to warn you first, if you cringe from my horrible accent, just you prepare to curl up like a crumbled piece of paper.
Hey everyone of you out there, my friends and people we know, I am very nervous but also excited at the same time to do this video. This is a very special video.
No, I have to hold back. Must not make fun of stupid accent, even though it's very difficult.
I will now say it as it is for the first time, that we are in America, as some of you know, but we are seeking asylum.
You heard it from the horse's mouth, quaffers, guzzles, and so on. I wasn't making it up.
That is not a small thing to seek asylum because of religious and political persecution and other persecution.
Persecution? He would have gotten me demonetized. Okay, enough with making fun of his accent. Let's get to the point.
And I'm actually one of the first one from Europe. Sad to say, I don't think I'm the last one, but I'm one of the first one from Europe who are seeking asylum in America.
This is where his persecution narrative takes off. I hope you're not scared of heights, because we will be going way up there.
And it's not a small decision to leave your country and go to another place to seek asylum.
Not a small thing to go to another place. Still, he persuaded a lot of people to do just that, leaving their jobs, selling their homes to join his cult. Next, he goes on to tell how he was contacted by some journalists who wanted to do a documentary about him, and how they were allegedly not honest about their intentions.
So Danish TV was following us from 1.5 years, and they were in London with me to a big Kickstart meeting we had with 800 people, and they've been following us all over. What I did not know was that there was a big agenda to really destroy us, and I did not know that there was some laws that was being changed at the same time. What I did not know that there was some people who a group who were persecuting us, who at the same time contacted the TV, and they all came together, and it became a mess.
The journalists had an agenda to destroy them. Laws were changing. Other people were contacting the journalists. If you're smelling conspiracy here, we do share olfactory sensibilities. Now, a number of different groups were taken on in the documentary. Tom's group, The Last Reformation, was only one of them. And he now goes on to tell how a mix of accusations against the different groups in the documentary caused confusion, and how some random people started accusing and threatening him for things he wasn't accused for in the documentary.
And what they really managed to do was take all of those bad cases, also where people have been judged and have really done sexual misuse and done other things, and they mixed it all together. So people had no idea who was doing what and so on. So suddenly I got a lot of threats like, Torben, you have misused those, you have done this, you have done this, and you have done this, and you should go to jail, and you have done this. And I was like, no, it was not me, it was them, and it was that, and it was that network, and it was those people. And I just started to get a lot of threats.
Now, of course, he doesn't deserve to get threats for something that he hasn't done. It still doesn't make him persecuted, though, in a sense that would call for asylum, as those threats have come from private persons and not from the authorities. If he's wrongfully accused, bullied, or harassed, there are actually authorities that could protect him from that. One of those authorities is called the police.
I did show the trailer for the last program, and I saw people I have known before who have worked with us, who actually went out and lied and put a knife in my bag, and the program was the trailer there was very bad.
So he feels backstabbed by people who finally saw through him and his lies and his little cult scheme. Big deal.
Sorry, I didn't expect this. But it was hard, and it was like suddenly everything became dark, and I was like, I'm just finished. I'm finished in Denmark.
Yeah, he cries a lot in the video. I can't help having a tad of bad conscience about the fact that I don't really pity him at all. On the contrary, I feel quite the large pinch of schadenfreude, because I'm malicious like that. After this, he compares himself to the suffering Christ. Yeah, the narcissism and delusion of grandeur are two cult leader traits that he indeed exhibits. He goes on about some details in the documentary. In the trailer, a child can be seen during a mass baptizing ceremony who cries while his pants are half down, and that did stir some controversy. Torben's explanation was that the boy wanted to go swimming in the baptizing basins and that he was only being sad about not being allowed to do so. So he wasn't being exercised at all, but only reacted heavily because of his autism. Then everything is all right, innit? No. Who the hell would bring an autistic child to a ceremony like that? With all that noise and grown-up people screaming and thrashing around, it is tantamount to abuse to put autistic children in stressful situations like these. Ask any psychiatrist or psychologist, like the ones in the documentary, who I won't show because copyright. Next in his video is a bit about the alleged new laws that were mentioned earlier. Let's hear what he has to say.
But then I heard about the law. There was 2 laws that was going to be changed. One is a mental violence law, where physical violence and mental violence have the same punishment. And one is a court case, children court case, where they can go and remove the family, the kids for the family, if they have a reason that there is something wrong. And when I heard about this, I saw that people who read about the laws and know what was going on, they started to contact us and said, Tom, you need to leave.
There indeed seems to be a law in the making which aims to protect children from psychological abuse along with physical violence. I have not, however, been able to find anything about the existing rules on child eviction being loosened, making it easier for authorities to evict children. However, if the law about psychological abuse is passed, the rules about evictions would apply in concordance with that law, of course. So for argument's sake, let's just say that child eviction is made easier, as Torben Søndergaard is claiming. However, the laws haven't passed yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But even if they do, he can't be prosecuted for anything that took place before the law was passed. That's basic human rights for you. Or him, rather. Article 11, Part 2. Pause if you want to read it.
That they can come and take away the kids from one day to another now with this new law.
So no, they can't. Either he's lying, he's an idiot who doesn't know jack about how legislation works, or both.
Yeah, we have had the last year so many different entities who have been coming after us. The fire department have come after us because they heard that there was problem with, there could be risk of fire in our center, but everything was okay. The food controllers are after us because they have heard that there was rats running around in our kitchen, but everything was okay. F3 is our work association was after us because they heard we have people working without persecution, without papers, everything was okay. The police was after, they came and checked all passport of the people of the school because they heard that we have illegal people there, but everything was okay. The tax association was after us and we should send papers to them the last 2 years with all things and everything was okay. The municipality is called, I think, the city hall or what it's called was after us. They have been there several times. We have done homeschooling with our daughter because we have been traveling a lot. And they just keep coming and want to check everything and we just saw like every kind of government just came, and then with all of this TV that came, and I saw how I was already guilty. I saw like no matter, like I know I have a good case, I know I can prove it, but I'm like I was guilty in people's eyes.
So his persecution narrative gains height, implying that all these authorities work together against him, including the legislative power. However, it's not unheard of that events such as airing a documentary can influence certain legislation and the immediate practice of government, labor organizations and such. Besides, even if he would be prosecuted, ordinary legislation and the rights of the accused apply, For him, as for everyone else, he'd be innocent until found guilty, and if he was unrightfully accused to a point where it would be seen as harassment by the state or any other entity, a private person, there is also legislation available for him to seek justice and compensation for that. But that wouldn't be an option, would it? No. Then rather pretend he's persecuted and flee, even though he's legally off the hook and claims that he has a good case, should he be dragged before the court. And also, please tell me with a straight face that conviction of innocence is a bigger problem in Denmark than in the United States, where he is now seeking asylum from being unjustly persecuted, while he really isn't, because of a law that hasn't even been passed yet. I find it ludicrous and laughable. His ramblings only testify to his paranoia and/or his delusion of grandeur, as if he was important enough to be oppressed and persecuted by the Danish state, a state with a rather long tradition for rule of law, and for things that aren't even illegal yet. And that he sees himself as a victim is absolutely preposterous. The victims are the people that Torben persuaded to give up their jobs, sell their homes, and leave their countries to follow his cult. The victims are the people who threw away their medication because they thought they were healed after participating in Torben's exorcism rituals, like Ton Weersma from the Netherlands, whose leg was amputated 8 months after purportedly being healed. And then there is indeed the children, being not only exposed to adults behaving like monsters, both those performing the exorcisms and those being exorcised, but also having such exorcisms performed on themselves. Now they are all stuck neck deep in shit. Did they get a chance to go with him to the United States? Or were they simply left behind, jobless, homeless, in a, for them, foreign country and probably penniless? Because where else would the money to run Torben's church centers come from, if not from the pockets of those that he persuaded? What a complete and utter buffoon. He of course left because he could see that his cult project was done for. At least here in Denmark. So he gathered the little that he had left and moved to a place where he could continue his dodgy business without too much interference from authorities, while at the same time gaining tax exemption and a huge market of gullible proselytes. And he found a scapegoat to blame. Instead of realizing that what he had done for so many years was wrong and finally being exposed as the fraud that he was, he poses as a crucified victim and blames the journalists that basically just did their jobs, as far as I can see, with proper journalistic standards and ethics applied. And he blames the authorities that have every reason to be concerned in light of what had been exposed. The most important thing for him is to exhibit himself as a persecuted victim of rampant governmental control. He doesn't care about the many church members that he left behind when he went to the US to seek new grounds to spread his dim, fundamentalist, reactionary, and bigoted ideas. So this covers about the first 20 minutes of the video. The rest is his story about how he came to the United States and how he experienced all sorts of signs from God and whatnot. It's not relevant for my take on it here, but if you're interested, just follow the link in the description to the video. I want to make clear that even though he is seeking asylum, I don't wish for him to be separated from his family, put in a cage indefinitely, with no access to water or hygienic facilities, as this seems to be the practice in the United States with asylum seekers who are not white, don't have a Scandinavian name, yet probably speak English a lot better than him. Because I'm just SJW-ish like that. But that it doesn't matter to him surely begs the question for what reason he is treated so much better. But ultimately, that's a digression. I'd wish, however, that I could just say good riddance, wave him off, wishing him good luck with his asylum-seeking process, but I can't. I feel ashamed on behalf of my country because this is the third time within 10 years that Denmark has exported problems with religious fanatic cults to the United States, as if the United States didn't already have enough trouble with these buffoons. There is Christian Hedegaard, a hedegod if you like, who left for the US in 2011 to found the Powerhouse Church in Orlando, Florida, after being convicted of quackery, as he had been taking psychiatric medication away from patients that he allegedly healed through faith. There's Christian Laursen Raburn. After allegations of sexual abuse against minors, he fled from Denmark to the United States in 2011, where he also founded a church in Florida. I haven't been able to find out the name of it, however, but in Florida, he got in trouble when he was serving alcohol to minors. This might have been the reason why he went back to Denmark in 2017, where he was apprehended in Billund Airport on the 7th of March. The 6th of March 2018, he was convicted on 8 counts of sexual abuse against minors and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. I guess that is where he is now. And he was also sentenced to subsequent deportation back to the United States, as he is now an American citizen. So he will be back someday, it seems. And then there is Torben Søndergaard. Well, at least his name isn't Christian. Sorry, couldn't help it. But isn't it interesting how the United States seems like the preferred place to flee to when the ground underneath extreme Christian preachers starts burning? Just a suggestion that maybe the United States has a bit of work to do on this issue, since the US is so attractive to these people. I also thought the US was kinda already saturated with this idiocy, but apparently not. The US could start with returning Torben Søndergaard to sender. Please send him back here, to Denmark, and let him be confronted, not with the authorities, but with the people that he let down. The now homeless, jobless, penniless ex-members of his failed cult, the uncured victims of his quackery, and the traumatized children. I want to see them confront him, demanding reparations for his defrauding, deluding, leading people into the illusion of bliss, just to turn his back and run away the second he was exposed as the fraud that he really is. No matter how his asylum case falls out, and I'd wager he will not be granted asylum, as he is indeed not persecuted, I'd love to hear if any news about him surfaces in the United States. News about him founding a new church, for example, or him connecting with other church groups, which groups and how extreme these might be, or any other news emerging. Please contact me on this email or send me a message on Twitter or even Facebook. Links to all those accounts in the description. Regarding my beer reviews, you can also follow me on Untapped on Instagram. Feel free also to contact me about beer related news, or if you need my address information in order to send me something. Beers to review, t-shirts to wear, posters to put up on the huge empty wall next to where I do my beer reviews, or other beer related material. Please like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell and share if you like what I do. I've been Hopswatch at your service. Please don't be like Torben Søndergaard. Besides, always remember to drink responsibly, and until next time, cheers!